Hi, this is Rachel from 7 and All, and in today's video we are going to be talking about practical daily strategies that you can implement to help make lack of motivation less of a problem in your homeschool. If you are raising some kids with some really strong wills, big personalities, big ideas, congratulations. These type of kids make awesome, interesting, fascinating adults who are going to do great things. Also, you have quite an adventure ahead of you with choosing to homeschool these kids who feel deeply, who talk a lot, and have big ideas for their own days and their own lives. Now sometimes, and perhaps often, their ideas for their lives might not be the same as your ideas. They are young children. They are dealing with immaturity, with sin in their own lives. They are dealing with learning how to express their ideas while also learning to live well with the other people in their family, including their parents. So this can lead to drama when it comes to time to do schoolwork. If you have a strong-willed child, or if you have a gifted child, if you have just some kind of child with a big personality who comes up against a subject in school that they don't think is all that interesting or important, and they're like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Or worse, they don't use words very calmly to say that, and they use many other strategies, many dramatic strategies to avoid doing that work. What can you do in this kind of situation? How can you restore peace and joy to your homeschool day when fights have become the norm? In my last video, I talked about some of the big overarching ideas regarding motivating your very reluctant child in any subject that they are reluctant in. But today I'm going to be talking about practical strategies. If you haven't seen that video, take a break and watch that one first, and then we'll talk about our day-to-day strategies that we can use. Number one, lay down firm ground rules for your homeschool as far as reactions when a child is asked to do work that they don't want to do. You will have to decide what your own home's ground rules are going to be, but those things that really disturb your peace, those things that really disturb the peace of your homeschool, make them firmly off limits. Make your school a tantrum-free zone. We're just not going to do this, okay? This is not one of the acceptable responses. Don't do this in the middle of the tantrum. That is not the time to start laying down the ground rules. Do this at a peaceful time. Lay down your ground rules. We are not going to cry when mom says you need to do this assignment. We are not going to scream. We are not going to stomp our feet. We're not going to throw a tantrum. We're not going to scream and speak rudely. And maybe offer some rules of what your child is allowed to do as far as expressing their displeasure or disinterest in a subject respectfully. There can be a real need for our kids to be able to express how they feel about a certain subject and for us to engage with their expressions, but you can't have conversation. You can't have free expression when things are devolving into screaming and crying and rude and disrespectful language. So work on really building a firm culture that I can ask you to do this assignment and you can say, I think this assignment is very boring, and you can say back to your child, I understand that, I know you're not that interested in it, but I'm mom and you gotta trust me, this is important for you to do, for you to challenge yourself with. I know it's gonna be a challenge for you to be bored by this, but I think it's really gonna grow your ability to handle things that you're not interested in, so you're gonna do it. So get those ground rules firmly established. Make sure your child knows that when mom says it's time to do this work, it's time to do this subject, that's not an arguing time. It's not a conversation, it's not an arguing point, it's not a time to have feedback. You're not asking for feedback, you're saying this is the time to do this, and you're just simply going to do it. Try to lay down that firm foundation of rules so that you're not so much dealing with incredible drama during your homeschool day. Second, be aware of what makes your child tick and schedule your day intentionally to be inherently motivational. Find out what subject your child really enjoys and schedule that subject into your day in a way that is naturally motivating. For me, right now, my son is just obsessed with numbers. He loves to write numbers, he loves to add. He loves to do any kind of this basic early math that's at his level right now. So do you know what I do for our homeschool right now? I start his school routine with math. We do a math page right off the bat. We get to write numbers. He's all excited. He's looking forward to that. Then I fit in a couple of our other activities, our memorization, our letter work that we're working on, and then I end it with math. And I do our routine every day the same way right now. So he knows when he comes to school, when he comes to the table to do his schoolwork, first thing he gets to do is sit down and do math. And then once he finishes the rest of his work, he gets to do more math. And that is inherently motivational for him. So utilize your schedule in that way. Plan favorite subjects as kind of a bait at the beginning of the day and also at the end to make sure your child is motivated to finish their work so they can get to that really beloved subject at the end of the routine. You can also use snacks as a motivation. I mean, adults can relate to snacks as motivation. I mean, have you ever had to go to a meeting you didn't really want to go to, but it was kind of sweetened up with some donuts at the meeting? I'm not saying you gotta have donuts in your school day, but cut up an apple when you're gonna do a subject that you know is a little bit tougher, a little bit more boring, a little bit not so appealing. Have an apple to snack on during that subject. Have whatever. I mean, your kids are gonna eat snacks anyways. Utilize snacks for your own benefit in planning a peaceful school day. Also, this is something you'll have to see if it works for your individual kid. For some people, and this is myself included, checklists and schedules are incredibly motivational. I have always loved a curriculum that is all scheduled out for me because I see, oh, I'm supposed to do all of these things on Monday. I will happily do all those things on Monday. I just kind of have the personality that sees a schedule and wants to do what's on the schedule. And for many kids, that can actually be very effective. They see that this subject is on the schedule, so it's not that personal anymore. It's not like mom is making them do this subject. It's the schedule. It's on the schedule. They got to do it. They got to check it off. It's part of that routine. So this isn't universal. There are definitely some strong-willed people who will see a checklist or a schedule and be like, yeah, I can just burn this. I do not care what's on the schedule. I have met and loved and lived very closely with people with that temperament. So this is not going to work universally, but for some certain temperaments, a schedule can be very highly effective. This is also effective for my son as well. Something that neither one of us really wants to do right now is practice counting to higher numbers. However, I am seeing the effectiveness in just a couple of weeks of daily counting up to 70 or 80 or 100. His counting has improved so much through just practicing this every day. Now, I don't necessarily want to practice that every day, and he doesn't necessarily want to practice every day, but because it's on our curriculum and there's a little place that says count to this number and then we can check it off every day, he's motivated to do it because it's on his list. I'm motivated to do it because it's on his list, and I have seen the growth in, I didn't know a 4-year-old could learn and grow in confidence and accuracy in counting in such a short amount of time simply from daily practice. So having schedules can be very, very effective. Another simple change that you can make to increase motivation sometimes is simply change your location. So maybe you do most of your schoolwork at the dining room table. If you have a particularly detested subject with your child, go over to the couch and do it on the couch, or go lay on the floor and do it on the floor. You don't have to have a dramatic change of location, but sometimes simply a very small change of location can add interest, and it adds to just the fun of it. You don't have to bend over backwards trying to make school constantly interesting to your child, but when it's a small change that's really easy to do, go ahead and make that change. Another important strategy to incorporate into your homeschool life is to talk about the reason why, the deeper reasons why you study certain subjects. For many strong-willed children, for many gifted children that have really big ideas in their minds, and they maybe have some big ideas that they are not interested in certain subjects, and they don't see how certain subjects apply to their lives, it can be very powerful to talk about the reasons why. Why do we really study history? It's not just because it's on the list of state-required subjects, is it? There are deeper reasons of why to study that subject. Why do we study math? Yeah, sure, for baking and for using the bank and for balancing your checkbook and all accounts and stuff like that. Like, there's practical reasons, but there are also even deeper reasons to study math. So when you have these kids with big ideas, they probably also have a very deep ability to understand some of these big reasons why to study these subjects. So make conversations about the reason why you learn something, the reason why you learn this subject, a part of your homeschool routine. And you might be surprised at how effective this can be in getting their buy-in to studying and to learning. Now, you also might run into situations where you explain to your child why it's important to learn a certain subject and they're still in their strong-willedness, kind of feeling like, I don't buy it. I don't really agree with that reason why. You might run into that. It can definitely happen. And at that point is when you're gonna have to say, well, even if you don't agree with this reason why, as the parent, as the person who has experienced more of life and seen more of the world, and as a person who has a very strong, solid relationship with you on this subject, I'm gonna ask you to trust me. And from that position of a trusting relationship, expect your child to trust you that it is important for them to learn this subject. Another strategy, if you have an older child, involve your child in creating their school schedule for the year. Have them be part of the process of both the overall subjects for the year, choosing their curriculum, choosing their classes for the year, but also in their daily routine. When you guys make this daily routine, when you make this class load together, you're going to have more of their buy-in, and you're not going to have so much of, this was all your idea. Why didn't I get any idea or any say in what I get to do for my classes? Once you get to around maybe even upper elementary, but definitely middle school and high school, I would be highly including your child and incorporating some of their opinions into their homeschool schedule. And this is definitely going to help you with enacting those schedules on an everyday basis because they were part of creating it from the beginning. Lastly, my last strategy is there will be days when you simply have to out-stubborn them. And this can be tough if your child is very strong-willed and you were not that strong-willed child and you're more of the nice kid. You were always the nice, obedient kid, and now you, for some reason, have a very strong-willed child and you're like, I was never like this. Why are you like this? When you are kind of just that more I listen and I do what I'm told kind of temperament, that can be a little extra hard. So, you gotta do it sometimes. There will be days when, and there's been days in my own homeschool growing up in the family I grew up in where I would have a sibling who would do school from when they woke up until after bedtime because there were so many issues of stubbornness, refusing to do their schoolwork, dawdling when they were supposed to do their schoolwork, generally not doing anything they were told. There were days like that. There was not just one day like that. There were days like that. They were needed. They were an important part of her maturing and growing up process. And those were days was that what my mom wanted her homeschool to look like that day? No. But she could be more stubborn than her strong-willed daughter. She could out-stubborn her. And their relationship remained strong. There was the ground rules. There was no fighting. There was no, clashing at a level that was damaging to the relationship. But there was that simple, I know you are stubborn, but I am more stubborn. And you are going to do what you've been asked to do today. So in the end, there will probably be a couple days like that if you're dealing with a very strong-willed child. Do not lose heart. Not all days will be like that. I hope you found some helpful strategies to implement in this video, and I would love to hear in the comments below if you have found any just very helpful, practical daily strategies for dealing with motivation with your own children in your homeschool. All right, I'll be seeing you. Bye.